Hello wine people, welcome to Thirsty and Wise, where we simplify wine. My name is Petar and I'm a certified WSET wine and spirit educator. This is video number 4 in a series of videos for WSET Level 1 in wines course and exam. In this video, I will explain different types and styles of wine. On this channel, we're building a community of wine people that want to learn about wine with understanding. And we also organize in-person and online WSET courses and exams. So if you're interested to learn about wine with understanding and you want to get certified, you're in the right place. Please reach out and we will create a wine program that suits your needs. And let's start this video. Okay, wine people, video number 4, where we're going to explain, this is going to be a very interesting one, types and styles of wine. I promise you, I did my WSET Level 2 in wines. I always heard styles of wine. I didn't understand what styles of wine mean. So, and I promise you, if you ask anybody, you know, what are the 3 types of wine, people will not answer correctly. So that's what we're going to answer in this video. We're going to talk about color, structure characteristics, aromas and flavors, and on the end we will have 10 multiple choice questions to test our knowledge, everything that we learned in this video. So let's start. So types of wine. There is 3 types of wine, and if you ask people what are the 3 types of wine, they're most likely to say white, red, and rosé, which is not correct. So the 3 types of wines are still, sparkling, and fortified wines. So when I say still wines, it means wines that they don't have carbon dioxide inside of them, and there's no additional alcohol added to the wines. So examples of still wines are Sancerre, Chianti, just to name a couple, and usually alcohol for this wine is between 8 and 15% of alcohol by volume. Sparkling wines, examples of sparkling wines, most famous sparkling wines, Champagne, Prosecco, Cava from Spain. These wines have trapped CO2, carbon dioxide, inside of them. These wines usually come from cooler climates. Main characteristics of these wines is high acidity and freshness. Fortified wines are wines that have additional alcohol added to them. The most famous fortifying wines, the ones that we need to remember and understand on WSET Level 1 in wines, is port and sherry. And usually they have higher level of alcohol, something between 15 and 22% alcohol by volume. Style of wines. So when I say style of wine, people get confused with this, and I understand because nobody is explaining this basic stuff. Style of wine basically means how would you describe the wine, how the wine looks, how it smells, how it tastes. So that's the style of wine. So if you would say this is a rosé wine that has pronounced aromas of red fruit, cherries, cranberries, raspberries, it's fresh, it's dry, with high acidity, with light body, fresh aromas of cherry, cranberry, raspberry, with medium finish. That would be a description of a style of wine. So usually when we talk about, and what I just mentioned is, you know, I'm explaining how the wine looks, so the color of the wine, how the wine, aromas and flavors, how the wine smells, how the wine tastes on the palate, and then structural components, which is, it's like, you know, when you're building a house, it's very easy to understand, you know, structural components like bricks, cement, things like that, that keep the house, you know, in shape. These structural elements in wines is sweetness, acidity, alcohol, tannin. I'll explain all in detail. Okay, and I'll explain different types of aromas and flavors. So let's start with the color of the wine. There's 3 main colors of the wine. Wines can be white, can be red, and can be rosé. White wines, typically using white grapes. So when I say typically, it means that you can make white wine with black grapes, but this is usually not done. But the place where it's actually done many times is Champagne or sparkling wines, where they actually use black grape like Pinot Noir, and they press it very gently in order just to extract the juice and not to extract any color. With red wines, you need to use black grapes. You cannot make red wine with white grapes because it doesn't have the skin. So red wines must be made from black grapes, and then for rosé wine made from, you need to use black grapes to extract a little bit of color for rosé wines. So color is done. So now the structure characteristics. So when we talk about structure, we talk about sweetness, acidity, tannin, alcohol, body. So let's start explaining all this. Sweetness in wine is considered for high, I'm talking about high quality wines. I don't mean expensive wines, I mean high quality. So usually for sweetness in high quality wines, the sugar inside the wine is considered, it's called residual sugar. So it means that sugar inside the grape that is not converted into alcohol. There are wines that sugar can additionally be added, but we're not talking about that. So we're talking, when we talk about sweetness for high quality wines, we talk about sugar inside the grape that was not converted into alcohol. So if it's not converted into alcohol, it's called residual sugar, and it stays in form of sugar inside the wine. So the wines can have different levels of sweetness. They can be dry, which means that all the sugar was converted into alcohol. Examples of these wines are the one that we're going to mention here on WSET Level 1 in wines. Is things like Chablis, like Sancerre, Chianti, just to mention a few. So these wines, they don't have any residual sugar inside of them, or they have minimum amount that you actually cannot taste. Wines can be also off-dry, which means they have a little bit of sugar. Wines can be medium sweet, which means that the sugar is actually present in the wine. You know, you can actually, you know, it's a major component. You can actually, it determines the style of wine. So usually this kind of wines that you would be able to taste on WSET Level 1 in wines are things like white Zinfandel or some German Rieslings that have residual sugar, off-dry to medium sweet. And then wines can be high in sweetness. These wines can also be called lusciously sweet, which means they really have a lot of sugar inside of them. One wine that is important for you to remember on WSET on this course is French sweet wine, which is called Sauterne. We'll talk about that in more in detail in the next videos. So that's for sweetness. So residual sugar that is not converted into alcohol, and there's different levels of sweetness. So if I'm tasting a wine, you know, I would say this wine is dry, this wine is off-dry, medium sweet, or lusciously sweet. Acidity is a very important component in the wine. It gives freshness to the wine. It gives ability to wine to age for a long time. It's like a natural preservative in the wine. Usually wines that grapes that grow in a cool climate, they have more acidity. So things like German Riesling, Sancerre, these are grapes that have high acidity because they're grown in a cool climate. Wines grapes that are grown in a warm climate, they have less acidity. Things like, for example, Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, Châteauneuf-du-Pape. They're more riper, they have more riper grapes, higher alcohol, but lower acidity. Acidity is great with food. It goes very well with food, with acidic food, with fatty food, but we'll talk about that in the following videos. Tannin is important. It's a component that we talk about only for red wines. It comes from the skins of the grapes. It gives wines this bitter drying sensation, but there's different quality levels of tannin. Tannin can be drying and bitter and unpleasant. if unripe, if not, it's not a good quality tannin, but tannin can also give this richness, fullness, pleasant bitterness on the palate. But it all depends, you know, on the quality level of production. Tannin is also a natural preservative in the wine. It gives ability red wines to age for a long time. Alcohol, the main alcohol in wine is ethanol. Amount of alcohol in the wine depends on the amount of sugar inside the grapes. So we talked about where grapes grow. So if the grapes are growing in a warm climate, it means they're gonna have more sugar accumulated during the ripening period. And that means that sugar can potentially lead to high alcohol wines if all the sugar is fermented. So something above 14% alcohol is considered high alcohol wines. Wines that are lower in alcohol, it means that the grapes have less sugar. It means that the grapes are coming usually from a cooler climate. They have less sugar, potentially lower alcohol level. So things like German Riesling, Sancerre, for example. Body of the wine is that general sensation that you feel on the palate when you're drinking wine. It means, how does the wine feel on your palate? Does it feel heavy, or does it feel light? So the wines can be described as light or full body wines or medium body wines. So what does contribute to the body of the wine? What elements in the wine do make wine light or full or medium in body? So all the structural elements that we talked about. So let me explain the characteristics of a light body wine. The wine is dry, it has high acidity, doesn't have tannin, or if it's a red wine, it has light tannin, and it has lower levels of alcohol. So these are usually wines that are coming from a cooler climate. Sweetness gives richness if it's present in the wine. Lower acidity gives more fullness to the wine, where higher acidity gives more lightness and freshness to the wine. Lower tannin can make the wine feel light, where high tannin can make the wine feel full body. High alcohol gives richness to the wine, where lower alcohol feels lighter on the palate. So a full body wine would be opposite. Wine can be dry or sweet, but if it's sweet, it will definitely give to the richness of the wine. Acidity will be more towards medium. In red wines, wines will be high in tannin, and it will have high alcohol. So when you combine all this will make the wine full body. And usually fuller body wines, they age in oak. So oak additionally gives weight and texture and richness to these wines. All right. So this is very important to know, because if you understand this, then it's easier for you to talk about wine and explain wine to people and explain them, why is this light body wine? Why is this full body wine? All right. Honestly, level 1, if you don't know anything about wine, level 1 for people that don't know anything about wine is really amazing. It gives you, in such a small amount of information, gives you the ability to talk about wine with confidence. You don't need to go too snobby about wine. All of this that we're talking about, level 1, gives you a great ability to talk about wine in simple terms that people will appreciate. And on the end, something that we didn't mention so far is aromas. Aromas in wine, and also this is a very I would say one of the most confusing, if not the most confusing part of wine is, people talking about aromas and flavors in the wine that people, don't understand. Wine smells like lemon, like apples, like peaches, like cranberries, like vanilla, like, dried leaves. What does that mean? When I explain about vocabulary of the wine, the descriptions for aromas and flavors, I explain it as you're learning a new language. So it's not actually the aromas that are present in the wine. They're not actual aromas of lemon or peach or whatever. They're more associations of, describing that wine. And then in order for you to understand that, you need to understand what each aroma, when mentioned, what does it mean? So let me try to explain this, okay? So first of all, the aromas and flavors in the wine, there's three categories: primary aromas, secondary aromas, and tertiary aromas. So let's go one by one. Primary aromas are aromas that are created in the wine during the fermentation. So you just get the aromas of the fruit, of the grapes. If you eat the grapes by itself and taste the wine from it later on, it's totally different. So during the fermentation process, these aromas gets released and created. So primary aromas are aromas of fruits, flowers, vegetables. So, natural, fruity, organic aromas. So usually for white wines, aromas, there's like categories of different fruit. So citrus fruit, green fruit, stone fruit, tropical fruit. So depending on the ripeness of the grapes, so that's why I mentioned in previous videos, for you to understand the ripeness of the grapes, how it affects the aromas of the wine. So this is when it comes to, for you to understand this. More riper grapes are described in a different way based on their ripeness level. So if the wine tastes, if the wine is made from less ripe grapes, they will taste more citrusy, they will taste more green, maybe slightly stone fruit-like. Where white grapes, if they're coming from a warm climate, they will taste more riper. They will start from stone fruit and go into tropical fruit. The same thing for red wines is a little bit different. For red wines, why I like to determine the grapes as, do they taste more red, like cherry, cranberry, strawberry, or they taste more black? Some red wines taste just as red fruit. Like for example, Pinot Noir is always red, where Cabernet Sauvignon is always black fruit. Next to this ripeness levels, of course, certain wines are very specific. They have their specific aromas that when you identify them, you know exactly which grape variety you're talking about. Like for example, grassy aromas, bell pepper aromas are very characteristic for Sauvignon Blanc. And these grape varieties, white grape varieties, are called aromatic grape varieties. Where, for example, if you taste a bell pepper in red wine, it's most probably a Cabernet Sauvignon. And then wines can also, smell like different, like flowers, like vegetables. But this is more, expanding your vocabulary and playing with it. But don't get too snobby, don't get too freaky about this. Secondary aromas are aromas that wine gets from during winemaking process, after the wine finishes the fermentation. So the most common secondary aroma that you need to know for now is the aroma of oak. So the wines can ferment or age in oak and get this vanilla, cedar, woody kind of sweet spice aromas. So you need to understand that comes from oak fermentation or oak aging. And then tertiary aromas are aromas that wine develops with time. Wines need to stay in a bottle for several years in order to get these aromas. So these are aromas opposite of primary, which are primary and fresh, right? So tertiary aromas is what happens to the wine. Like with any organic material, it decays. It will taste older. It will taste more developed. That's the term that we use in wine. So if we smell these tertiary aromas of development, it means that the wine is developing, or fully developed if the tertiary aromas are really present. So how do they smell? Well, they smell like dried fruit. They smell like dried leaves. So the fruit is no longer fresh, it's more dried. Okay? So let's test your knowledge. Long lesson, but let's see how much you remembered and you understood. So what are the three main types of wine? Red, white, rosé, sparkling, still sparkling and fortified, sweet, dry and medium, full-bodied, light-bodied and medium-bodied. So now you know that the correct answer is B, still sparkling and fortified. What defines a still wine? It has bubbles caused by carbon dioxide. It is a fortified with additional alcohol. It has no bubbles and the alcohol content is between 8 to 15 degrees alcohol by volume. It's always sweet and low in alcohol. The correct answer is C. It has no bubbles and alcohol content is between 8 and 15 degrees. What is the primary characteristic of sparkling wines? They're aged in oak barrels, they're high in alcohol, they contain bubbles caused by trapped carbon dioxide. They are always sweet. The correct answer is C. They contain bubbles caused by trapped carbon dioxide. What is an example of sparkling wine? Sancerre, Prosecco, Bordeaux, Port. The correct answer is B, Prosecco. It's Italian sparkling wine. What distinguishes fortified wines? They're low in alcohol. Additional alcohol is added, increasing alcohol levels to 15 to 20% alcohol by volume. They're always sweet. They're aged only in stainless steel tanks. The correct answer is B. Additional alcohol is added to these wines. Which of the following is an example of fortified wine? Champagne, Sherry, Chardonnay, Beaujolais. The correct answer is B, Sherry. How is acidity perceived in wine? It makes your mouth feel dry, it gives wine a bitter taste, it makes your mouth water and gives a refreshing sensation, it increases the alcohol level in the wine. The correct answer is C. I didn't mention this, but it gives a refreshing sensation, but it also creates water inside your palate. So it gives watery sensation. So the correct answer is C. What is the effect of tannins in wine? They add sweetness, they cause drying sensation in the mouth, they increase acidity, they make wine sparkling. The correct answer is B. They cause a drying sensation in the mouth. What does the term body refer to in wine? The sweetness of the wine, the weight of mouthfeel of the wine, the acidity level in the wine, the tannin content in the wine. The correct answer is B, the weight of the mouthfeel in the wine. So how does the wine feel on the palate? Light or full or mid? So the final question, what aromas are often associated with wines aged in oak barrels? Fresh fruit and grass, vanilla, cedar and clove, mint and eucalyptus, pear and peach. The correct answer is B, vanilla, cedar, clove, Swiss spice. Wine people, thanks so much for watching the video. Today we talked about different types and styles of wine. In the next video we'll talk about principal white and gray varieties. Today's reason why you could start learning about wines, because you can make your wine purchasing decisions wiser and you can actually enjoy buying wine. I'm interested why you're interested in wine, why you're studying about wine, and please let me know if I can help, if I can be part of your wine journey. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay thirsty and wise.